They've been called the deadliest police force in America by The Guardian, The Washington Post, and Vanity Fair. But the Bakersfield Police Department says they've been unfairly portrayed.
And 23 ABC's Tweelon Nugent spent a day in the shoes of an officer to see if the BPD is training the most dangerous police department in the country. Tweelon?
Tim, Jackie, now hundreds of hours go into training a BPD officer before they hit the streets, potentially facing life or death decisions on a daily basis. Now, I worked with a few officers with dozens of years of experience between them to get a glimpse of BPD's use of force decision making.
We're not the deadliest police force in the world. We handle a threat. We protect the public the way we see fit and the way that the public wants us to protect them.
They're under fire for the way they've chosen to protect the public, but the Bakersfield Police Department says they're no different than any other police department in the country. They have the same responsibilities and the same tools.
You have a toolbox. You have to pick what is the appropriate tool.
Each BPD officer goes through use of force training before hitting the streets, equipped with a full arsenal on their belt.
Baton, taser, can of pepper spray, Glock 9mm.
And after hundreds of hours of training, hopeful officers will find themselves in front of a projector screen, placed in front of dozens of different interactive scenarios based off real-life incidents, where they choose what force option fits the situation.
So we have controlling force, injuring force, and deadly force.
Those scenarios start off fairly straightforward.
You dispatch two and one of the bar patrons.
This is where you learn your first weapon in your toolbox is your voice.
I would tell him, stop, turn around, and put your hands on top of your head. Then you see what he does. If he responds to that and he does what you tell him to do, then you might not have to use force.
23 ABC got the chance to go through a handful of use of force simulations. One of these scenarios started as a routine incident.
Okay, for this scenario, you're conducting a traffic stop on a vehicle for having expired registration.
But that standard stop quickly escalated and forced me to choose a weapon from my belt.
No, I think you need to put it down, sir.
The man not putting his bat down forced me to make a decision in less than 4 seconds.
No!
And as soon as I holstered my weapon, the questioning started.
Officer, why'd you discharge your firearm?
People will say, well, you could have just tased him, officer. That would have incapacitated him.
This line of questioning not at all uncommon for a cop in a shooting.
It's easy to, like, Monday morning quarterback an officer for the decisions that they make. You're having to make a life or death decision, a consequential decision in a split second that lawyers and judges and the public and the media are going to have months to critique you about.
The Bakersfield Police Department was involved in 6 fatal shootings in 2015, and officers say this is just a hazard of protecting the community.
Every officer does not get up, get dressed, put on the uniform and the badge and go to work every day saying, I'm going to shoot somebody. We don't do that. But when it's between you, an armed suspect, and a citizen, it's your job to step in the middle of it.
BPD says between 2010 and September of 2015, officers responded to more than 1.5 million calls. 34 incidents resulted in an officer-involved shooting. But BPD Rangemaster James Ramos says if an officer decides to shoot, they should be hitting their target.
The only way to ensure that you stop the threat and protect the public is to hit what you're shooting at. It does no good for an officer to fire rounds downrange and not strike the threat. It puts the public in danger. When an officer pulls his gun out and actually uses it, it's the end of the line. It's where everything comes together, and misses don't win gunfights.
It's normal for an officer to draw their gun and never shoot it. Drawing a weapon can act as a deterrent, but also prepares an officer for the split seconds he or she will have to react.
You got to realize the suspect has already made up his mind when he's going to attack you. So you're already 1.5 seconds behind that decision-making process, because it takes you 3/4 of a second to recognize a threat, 3/4 of a second to react to the threat. You're 1.5 seconds behind. What can he do to you in 1.5 seconds? There's quite a bit he can do to you.
It's these quick decisions that officers make every single day, and decisions the Bakersfield Police Department tries to prepare their officers for.
I want them up and you kiss your family goodbye. You know that could be the last time you get to do that. So I try to give them everything they can to be prepared for whatever can happen, whether it be defense tactics, whether it's how you talk to people, how you drive, everything to be as safe as you possibly can, because if you're not safe, then you're not protecting the public.
Yeah, that was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences I've ever been through. Even just watching it again, my heart is beating so fast. I don't know if...
And you do really get a sense of how fast things happen.
Right, that suspect with the bat, you realize that it's those split-second decisions. And the officer brought up a good point. The Monday morning quarterbacking is tough because they're in those with 3-4 seconds to react.
Right. Yeah. When that happened, I'm shaking, reaching for the gun, and you have literally 2 seconds to react. And after that, there's like months and months that officer has to go through, reliving that experience that only took 3 seconds. So we do have more exclusive content on our website that you can access only through there. It'll go through some of those scenarios, and we walk through them with different weapon choices, so you can see how it ends up if I use a taser in that situation as well.
That's fascinating. Good
Very
reporting.
interesting. All right, thanks for that, Tweelon.